Kawasaki ZX6R. All back together. Lots of powder coating done. Looking really good. Bike was running great. And now it's developed a sputtering problem. So it still starts and idles really well. First gear is good. As soon as you start getting into second, it starts to sputter. So let's tear it back down and see if we can figure out what's wrong with this bike. Well, it's that kind of morning. Draining the tank again. Trying to find out what the problem is with that ZX6R. These carburetors are such a pain in the butt to get out. I got the bottoms off of the bowls off of these guys. This one here I can loosen off that. Oh, I got that screw out. This one here is stripped, and that one down there is stripped. We put this together last time. It didn't do me any favors by putting stripped screws in the back. Anyways, trying to pull the carburetors off themselves. It's even worse of a nightmare. You can't get the hose clamps off. I don't even know if you can see them. You can't get access to the screws anyway. I don't know how they get it. Not fun. All right, the gas tank should be almost drained. Looks pretty good. So we're gonna remove that petcock again and see if there's any more crap in there. Hopefully we sort that out. And then we're gonna go back to, we're gonna have a look at the spark plugs on this thing too. They're new spark plugs that are in it, but I wanna see if it was running lean or rich, or see if that might have something to do with it. So I've already checked this one and it looked good. So let's check this one next. I'll set this up on the tripod and you can see how fun it is to change these spark plugs. Okay, so here's the spark plug ignition wire, the cap for it. So we're gonna pull that off first. I'm gonna go around to the other side so you can see a little bit better. I'm not in your way. All right. So give that a little turn first and then pull it up. See how long those are. And then nice long spark plug socket down inside. Get on there with a ratchet. It's kind of sad that you got to take the fuel tank off and everything to get at these, but you got to do what you got to do. If you don't have a long skinny wrench like this, spark plug wrench, you will not get it. Regular socket just won't go in there. And there it is. Doesn't look terrible. Getting fuel. Anyway, I'll put them back in and we'll check the other two. All right, so we got that spark plug back in. Just gonna put the lead back on, like so. Here it's snap into place. That, give it a little wiggle, nice and tight. Now we're just gonna check the other two. We may have to pull off this boot like I did on this side. I don't know if you can see it, but I had to pull the boot out because there was not enough clearance to get down there with the spark plug wrench. But this side I might be able to. We'll see, because it's a bit of a pain because you got to take off this and then pull it through. Yeah, it's lots of fun. So by looking at the spark plugs, we might be able to tell if one of the four carburetors is running lean or rich. You never know. it could be a blocked main jet, because it starts and idles fine and comes off idle really good, so the pilot jet should be good. So it might be just the main jet plugged. And unfortunately, these are a real pain to get off, so I'm not able to clean them properly. So I got all the jets out of these three and cleaned up and ultrasonicked. This one I can't get off, so I'm going to try to blow some air down into where the main jet is at the bottom here, and see if we can get that clean. I put a lot of sea foam down in there, so hopefully it'll help. And there's little tiny holes here. I'm going to try to blow those out as well. We'll get that float bowl off and inspect the needle. I just haven't gotten it out yet. So we'll just continue on with this side. I don't want to bore you with taking out spark plugs, so I'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, final spark plug. So we're going to see if we're going to have to take this side off, like I had to do on this side. I might try and just hold this out of the way and see, save me some time, but we'll see how it goes. So far, so good. So this carburetor did seem to be running a little bit lean when I looked at that plug, which makes sense because the bike seems to be running like it's not getting enough fuel. Which is causing that stuttering problem. There we go. That one doesn't look as bad. All right, so put the spark plugs back in and we will continue on. Okay, we'll go back and check on this tank again. Oh, I see a little bit of stuff down inside there. Let's see if I can zoom in. You see that? That's like the stuff we took out of the petcock. I'd say this is my fuel problem. So maybe I have a blockage again. That would be fantastic, because that would narrow down our problem. So we'll pull out the petcock. You can see the screws there for the petcock. And we're going to try to get that out. Not sure how I'm going to get it. Maybe I'll go down there with a suction or something to try to suck it out. Don't want that in our lines. Other than that, the tank looks really nice. Okay, here we go. So So after shaking the gas around a little bit, I noticed, I don't know if you can see, the camera's not focusing on it. You can see the dirt, but you can also see the screen, the pickup screen for the petcock right there. There you go. See the screen laying at the bottom? That's for the petcock and the dirt. The petcock's supposed to have two screens on it. You can see one on it right there, but that one should be attached. I don't think that's our problem, but the dirt is. So I'm going to try to fish that out too. I got it. I heard it suck up. There she is. We'll clean that up and see if we can put that back in. Nice. And we'll see how much dirt we got out of there. I still see some down there. I'll have to aim at that and get it. All right, final look down inside the tank. It's looking really clean in there now. I think we're okay. I'm still going to remove the petcock though and see if there's any more crap got inside that. All right, let's remove that petcock. No sense scratching the tank if we don't have to. She is. So last time I removed it, there was some dirt down inside there. So that's where that other screen's got to go. Okay, so we got this petcock here. I'm gonna try to take it apart and have a look inside. So it looks like there's a Phillips screw in here. I haven't had this one apart before, but they're all pretty much the same. Right now it's reserve up because I was draining the tank. That gives me better access to these screws here. O-ring there. Oh, that's not an O-ring. It's just keep pressure on it. Return. There's the O-ring right there. Actually doesn't look too bad. See where the fuel line comes in right at the bottom there. Doesn't look like it's obstructed in any way. I'm going to get a flat screwdriver and see if I can peel back this rubber seal here just to have a look underneath. All right, a little flat screwdriver. It doesn't seem to be any dirt in there at all. We'll blow her out anyways. Looks pretty clean. And here's the one that fell into my vacuum, so we'll clean that out real good. So that should have went on here like this. So that should be your main fuel and then your reserve fuel filtering. All right, we'll just put this back together. So there it is, all back together. Reserve up, off, on, put it back in the off position. I put a little oil on the O-ring and stuff too and got it ready to go back in. Should do the trick. Okay, so we're going to put that petcock back in. Just give that a little wipe there. Final look at their screens. They look good. Nice even pressure down. Leave it in the off position. And she's good. So you can see now how I got two screens in there. Whereas before, we only had one. We're try to blow all these jets out as best we can, the ones that are on the bike, and see if we can make sure everything's clean. Okay, so I'm going to remove this fuel filter again and have a look, see if any crap got sucked into that, and if it did, we'll clean it out. I have a new one on order, but hasn't come in yet, so I'll clean this one up and see if there's any crap inside it. Don't see anything, but we'll put a little air on it and see if we can blow out all the crap, any crap that could be in there. All right, so I blew out the fuel filter. Looks pretty clean there now. I'm just going to give this a little shot as well. Okay, so we're going to put this fuel filter back in. Notice the arrow goes inward. Pretty easy to do. In she goes. And then I get my pliers and put that clip back on. Like so. I like to keep the it's pointing towards the gas tank. Like that. That's going to go up there. Put that on after. So once your fuel filter's in place, just take this little rubber boot, wrap it around, and clip it on like that. When I go to put the fuel line on with the fuel tank, I'll probably have to loosen that off to lift it up to be able to have a little bit more access for the fuel line. But that's basically how that goes. Okay, so we're going to start by putting these slides back in. So the end of the needle is nice and clean. It did have a little bit of crap at the end there. I just kind of cleaned that off a little bit. So before we put these down, we got to make sure there's a little O-ring that goes right there. So I'm going to put these in place first, and then I'm going to put the O-ring in just so I don't knock it loose. So these are the little O-rings right here. I got them lined up per carburetor so I don't mix them up. So there it is right there. So we're going to put this baby in, and then we're going to start with this carburetor, and we're going to work our way through. I'm going to give her one last shot of seafoam. So you see how that needle goes in there. So we're gonna put that little, see, you can see why I didn't put that little O-ring in now, because I'm taking a chance of it falling off. Why I didn't put it in before this. So now I'm gonna put that on and close off that cap, and then we'll work on the next one and then the next one. So first, take your spring, drop that inside like that. You can see that's where the little O-ring goes. So it's gonna go like that. Let's get it all ready. And your little O-ring. Make sure, I like to make sure it all fits first. There we go. Okay, so here goes the O-ring. You do not want to drop this. Double check that the O-ring stayed, and it did. Good. And I put these screws on right away. That's the problem with doing these carburetors in the bike. It's much better if you can get the carburetors off. But if the hose clamps had been put, the screws for the hose clamps, if they had been put on this side, it would have been much easier to get at them. I don't know what the person was thinking that put these on. There you go, that's one down. Now we'll do the rest. That's what you want. Now we'll put this one in. It's a good idea to have a look for any tears. You see how this one's kind of damaged a little bit? Make sure there's no rips or tears in it before you put it back. Give you a better view of where that little O-ring is going. It's going right here. So by lubricating a little bit, it helps make the O-ring stick a bit. That's where it's going to go. So once again, you check the diaphragm on the slide, make sure it's good. Make sure this is clean, which it is. And then gently insert it in here. Like so. Like that. And then just gently push those flat. Sitting flush. Good. Now I'm going to put the O-ring on and the cap. But like I said, I pre-fit the cap first. So put the spring in, like so. That's where the O-ring sits. So that's going to go down. And these little holes here, or little nipples, they go in. You see there's one there and there's one there. So that's how you know it's seated. So the O-ring hole goes down like that. And just make sure that it all fits before you try playing around with that O-ring, because you do not want that falling out. So that goes in there, and then just line that up like so, and then the back. So that's how it's going to go. Okay. So now I know it fits good. So now the fun part is we peel this back off. Put the O-ring on, and then gently put all that down. That's the little O-ring. Okay. I have it sitting in place. And then watch that it doesn't fall out while you're doing this. She's in. And don't walk away from it. Put your screws in. Have to make sure everything is handy. You don't want the cap coming loose and that O-ring falling out. There. Now we'll start working on the bottom half. So I notice it's starting to split here a little bit. I'm going to pull that off. See how there's a seam here? Pull that off. And I'm going to put some black electrical tape around there just to kind of hold it in place or seal it up a little bit better. And there's a little kind of like a spongy filter in there. I'm going to make sure that it's not plugged up too. We'll give that a little cleaning. Okay, so we got that off. I'm just going to tape that on, make sure that it's not leaking. There we go. Okay, so we got that taped up. Slip that back on here. Like so. Good. Now to jam these back in. You see the left, but if you flip it over, right, so you could go on that side, you go on the left side, so you're going to put it there. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on it just to help slide it through a little bit. Not exactly a fun job, but there we go. So go a little too far, so you get the front part in. Like that. And you start to pull it back. There's a little notch here. That notch has got to be straight up. So you just rotate it here. So that's going to go into your front of your air box. Those lines go on the top like that. So there's another cover that goes over here, but I'm going to put that on after. So in case I have to rotate that out a little bit when I put the air box on. I don't like the way those cables go up like that, but that's the way she goes. All right, so back onto the carburetors. We're going to start with these little jets here. I made sure that you can see through them. They're all cleaned up. They go right in here. Just going nice and easy. Make sure you don't cross thread them. And don't over tighten them. 1, 2, 'and I'll do the rest. Okay, so we're getting ready to put this jet in. So this one screws in here, like so. You just put a wrench on there like that. And make sure she's snug. Like that. And now we're going to install that. Snug that up. Not too tight. Just like that. And then this one here, make sure all these little holes are cleaned out real good. And then put that one in here. Like I said, it's much easier to do these type of carburetors when they're on the bench. I guess anybody can do it on the bench. And you just snug that up with your little stubby screwdriver flat. Like so. Now we'll put the floats on. So here's the float and your little needle and the little rod that goes in there that the needle sits on. The needle sits on this little clip right here. So now we got to very carefully put it into that carburetor. It's going to be fun. Okay, so it's going to go like that. We're working upside down here. You don't want to drop this needle. Make sure the little pin goes in and out. So now, gently put it over that little clip. Do not want to drop this. There she is. Okay, I got all the floats back on, all the jets back in. Floats are moving freely. So now I'm going to put the bowls back on. But before I do, I'm going to take some of these screws and see if I can replace them or cut some slots in them to make it easier for me to take them off next time if I have to do this again. So you see how bad these screws are. It makes no wonder I was having trouble getting them out. So I'm gonna put them in my vise, protect them with this rag, protect the thread anyway. I'm gonna put a slot in there so that it's easier for me to take off next time. I'll be able to get on that with a common flat screwdriver. Okay, so this first carburetor gets the coolant line. Like so. And then we'll put on this bowl on carb number 2 and hook up the little cross line for the coolant, so on and so forth. So put the coolant line on first. You see, now I can get at these guys with a flat common screwdriver. Much easier. Yeah, so putting these carburetors on with these little slots that I did in the screws, is just making it so much easier. Coolant line. Clip. All right, so next up, put this plate on. Secure in place. Before I tighten that down, I'm thinking if this little fix didn't work, this throttle position sensor, I'm going to disconnect it and see if that's going to be my plan B. So here's the airbox all cleaned up. Everything looks good. Pushing it into those front snorkels. like so. All right, now the main fuel line. Clipped in place. Air filter has been cleaned. And then the top of the airbox, which has also been cleaned underneath. Start with this one first because this actually helps hold that plate down. So I just took a rag and I went down here and I cleaned up the spilt fuel and coolant and stuff that came out while we were doing our cleanup and everything. That way once the bike's running, I'll if it is starting to leak, I'll be able to tell. It's pretty dry down there now. So it's good to just make sure that you got everything. All your hoses are all done up. Fuel lines before we put the tank on. It looks good. And now for the gas tank. Just put the petcock down. All right, you can see we got the fuel line on to the fuel filter and up to the petcock. Now we just have to bolt her down here and here. Your seat actually goes in right here. And this keeps pressure down on your battery. The vent, no kinks. That's good. Make sure the seat pops back in there. Here's the little hook here that goes in there. All right, so we'll put a little fuel in, check for leaks, and see what happens. Not going to put a whole lot of fuel in case I got to take this tank off again, because I may have to try to take that throttle position sensor off. See if that's it. We'll give it a little skosh. Turn the fuel on. Check for leaks. So far, so good. Just remember that the system was completely cleared out of fuel, so. Not surprised that she's having a little trouble. Test ride and see. Seem to be leaking. All right, wish me luck. All right, so I took the bike for a spin. It's still sputtering. So I'm gonna try, I took the fuel tank back off. I'm gonna try to pull off this throttle position sensor. I don't even know if it'll run with that off, but I'll take it for a test ride and see what happens. Okay, so back from a test ride. After doing all that with the carbs and everything, bike is still sputtering. So I just ordered a fuel pump for it today. We're gonna try and see if that works. I know the pump is working, but I'm thinking maybe at higher RPM, it's just the pump fuel pressure is just not high enough. So I'm gonna try that because I was able to source a pump locally, a new one. So that should be here tomorrow, and we'll put that back in. And if that doesn't work after installing the new pump, then I'm gonna be looking at the ECU because it possibly could be the relay for the fuel pump is not working properly. So anyway, so I got a couple options left. So stay with me and we'll see if we can get this thing working properly.